Hello and welcome to a 10-minute video on a CIMA topic that will be covered for CIMA management case study for the February 2018 sitting. This is for Ultimate Access and my name is Mary Jane Rodriguez and I am your presenter for today. The topic for today that I will be covering is under P2 syllabus and it's topic B, part 2. Now, part 2 says here that we need to discuss issues arising from the use of performance measures and budgets for control. We will be covering 2B for today, which is to discuss traditional and non-traditional approaches to performance management. This covers non-financial indicators and balanced scorecard. A little bit of background P2 knowledge. The balanced scorecard helps an organization to focus on performance measures and implementation of the current strategy. Now, the balanced scorecard is a management tool. It's a way of looking at your business and help you focus on big picture strategic goals rather than short-term financial measures. There are 4 different perspectives that the balanced scorecard looks at. So financial is one of the perspectives of the balanced scorecard. There are other 3. There is the customer perspective, there is the internal processes perspective, and learning and growth perspective. Financial perspective looks at, are you making money? Are your shareholders happy with the way that the business is being run? The financial health of your company as such, is it healthy? Are the profit margins good? And all that. Ultimately, though, financial perspective has a tendency to look at past results because financial ratios and profit margins are based on past results. Next, we look at the customer perspective and look at what kind of market share we have on the industry. We look at how many customers we have. Do we have new customers? Are we gaining traction in the market? How well we satisfy our customers, and this all falls under customer perspective. We now have internal processes. Now, internal processes deal with business processes that are in place to make the company more efficient, more effective, and better. Lastly, we look at learning and growth. Learning and growth normally deal with employee satisfaction. They look at employee retention rate as well as our training plan for the company, our training plan for our employees. So now we get to the pre-scene. How is the balanced scorecard important for the pre-scene? Now, the balanced scorecard was actually mentioned on the pre-scene, and there's even one perspective on the pre-scene. It was the learning and growth one. Now, the balanced scorecard is used by the FOSSC to measure its key performance indicators. So now we're going to go through each of the perspectives and we're going to try and populate it with pre-scene information that we have. Our first perspective is financial. If we are looking at the Norton Group, we would have the financial results because we have the financial statements of the Norton Group. But you must remember that our main focus or the focus of the pre-scene is actually the FOSSC. The FOSSC is a business unit or a service center for the Norton Group. It's only a part of the Norton Group. The FOSSC is classified as a cost center. So literally, it does not generate any profit or any income for itself. Margins may be difficult to determine here, and financial metrics should be performed maybe on how well the FOSSC measures up to budgeted amounts or budgeted figures that they've been given, that they've been set to, and we could also look at actual of this year versus last year performance. The second perspective is customer perspective. So again, the FOSSC is a cost center. It is a business unit within a big group of company. Now, the customers for the FOSSC are actually the subsidiaries that fall under the Norton Group, and they are our internal customers. The third perspective is learning and growth. Now, learning and growth I've found on the pre-scene there were some mention about staff recruitment and development, which were highlighted on the pre-scene pages that covered it. They talked about suitable training plan that needed to be implemented, as well as induction training that needed to be revisited. So learning and growth, there's not really much that I can talk about there except for what's already on the pre-scene. The fourth perspective is internal processes. Now, internal processes cover anything from the range of processes, systems, etc. The Norton Group and the FOSSC, they have state-of-the-art IT systems, ERP systems, they have a point of sale, etc. There's a lot of programs and I suppose infrastructure to make sure that the FOSSC has the necessary capabilities to perform its services. Continuous improvement fall under this, as well as automation, and these two are the main drivers for the shared service concept. So next, we've got a question which we will have to address. We've got Amber Lees, which is the Director of Operations at the FOSSC. She has asked us to prepare some notes with regards to implementing the balance scorecard into the FOSSC. She says here that she feels that the learning and growth metrics that we're currently using have been great, and she'd like us to offer up some suggestions for the other three quadrants. We will have to explain why we have chosen the measures in each quadrant to the board. The way to do it is we start off and we would write an answer plan to the question. To pick out the text, we would need to find out what the requirement is. And the requirement is that we would need to offer up suggestions for the other three quadrants, and then we have to explain why we chose those. We build our response around the requirement, and then normally we'd list probably like 5 to 6 for each of the requirement, and list down keywords and theories that we might be able to use in our answers. This is a basic example of an answer plan. So I'll put it together that I'll probably talk about an introduction to the balance scorecard. And then I'll look at the three other quadrants, which is financial, customer, and internal processes. I have listed 2 examples or measures under each perspective, and this makes up my 6 points. Financial perspective, I'd probably talk about, it's based on financial result, but the FOSSC is a cost center. So I'd probably try and use the metric of measuring it up to budgeted amounts or last year's figures. Customer perspective, I want to talk about that the subsidiaries are our internal customers. Some measures that I'd like to put in place are customer satisfaction, maybe a survey and a feedback, and maybe number of complaints that we receive. Internal process perspective, I want to talk about, innovation and automation. So delay or failure in delivery of the reports that we need to give them, and then being paperless is the other aspect that I'd like to speak about. And then in conclusion, I'd like to say that the metrics, need to contribute to our goal. Having said all this and having shown you the answer plan, now I've decided I'm going to put the answers in. Here is the answer. You will note there, I've talked about intro to the BSC, so I talk a little bit about the balance scorecard, what it's used for, and why it's important. Just a short paragraph, and then I go on into the perspectives, and I've written there for financial perspective. It's based on financial result. The FOSSC is a cost center. We don't generate income of our own. Shared service concept, FOSSC is there to reduce costs. So a good financial metric would be maybe to evaluate how well the FOSSE compares to actual expenses versus budgeted amounts. Or we could also look at actual expenses this year and last year and how much of an increase is there. I use some information from the pre-scene here. I talk a little bit about the general and administration costs that I've found on the pre-scene financials, and I mentioned that there is 2% increase of it. This is extremely good cost control management on the part of the FOSSC. Next up, I look at customer perspective. I talk about the subsidiaries being FOSSC's internal customers, and whether they are real or not, FOSSC should work hard to service the customer. I look at feedback. We request feedback and we ask whether we are doing a good job. Do we receive positive scores for some of the criteria that we set? There's also talks about maybe setting up an internal complaints process so we can track the number of complaints that there is about our operations. Third, we look at internal processes. Factors such as delays and late deliveries and how it affects the whole operation. Delays and non-deliveries they have huge impacts on our operations, and they can hamper the decision-making abilities of the operating units if we are not able to deliver what we promise or what they need. Also, I talk about paperless and how this initiative is an internal process measurement. There's a big push to become all digital, and there are a high volume of transactions and a high volume of document that passes through the FOSSC, and we need to quantify this to know if we are saving money by implementing. We are definitely, but we just put a little bit of a monetary value on the initiative. And then in conclusion, like I mentioned, I was going to say that the metrics should be reviewed, ensuring that they are in line with strategic goals of the FOSSC. That's it, and that's the end of the 10-minute video. I hope you gained a little bit of knowledge today, and good luck.